Hey guys, welcome to our next episode of the Ultimate Cosplay Podcast. Today we've got Tiffany Gordon Cosplay for interview, and I'm super excited to have her on here. In a way, I get to interview two completely new people because I get to interview both Tiffany as well as this amazing friendship that the two of these both have together.
That's true.
So that's
Yeah.
something that's kind of interesting because I always hear like
It's-
about this person, Tiffany, and how amazing of an artist she is. And so now I get to see both sides of that coin. Look, Chris is blushing. It's cute.
It
All
was
right,
funny.
without further ado, I have a question that I've been actually really excited to ask you because it was the first one that I posted as a sample.
Hold on.
So,
Before we get to
whoa.
questions, can we, and forgive me for interrupting, can we
No,
allow
this is your job.
can we allow
I'm just
Tiffany
excited.
to introduce herself first?
Yes.
Is that appropriate?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Hi. Okay.
Brilliant.
Hi, I'm Tiffany from Tiffany Gordon Cosplay. I am a full-time cosplay builder and I stream on Twitch. I've been cosplaying I cosplayed from 2008 until 2011, and then from 2016 to present. And I do all of my own patterns. I do fabric designs. I do 3D modeling, 3D printing, leather work, EVA foam, Warbler, sewing, that everything. I don't know. I might have missed something.
You do
but
it
yeah.
all. She does fabric, leather, EVA foam, 3D
Yeah.
printing, casting, molding, electronics, LED lights, wings, wing harnesses, etc.
I'm known for my wings and known specifically for most people for my Ariel cosplay from Diablo 3 Heroes of the Storm and also my Atlantic Mercy from Overwatch. So, and it's got moving wings.
Excellent.
Eat.
Excellent introduction. And
I just great.
again, forgive me for interrupting, but
No, that was so good.
You may
Good
ask
timing.
your question now.
I need somebody to keep me reined in sometimes, so it was perfectly timed.
I suppose that's my job.
I'm gonna straighten my eye patch here as if it was a monocle and it helped me see better. 1 second.
For anyone listening to this without watching, they're going to be like, "Who the hell has to straighten their eye patch?" But go on. You had a question that you were excited about.
Tiffany, are you ready for this? All
Sure,
right, so
maybe.
I wanted to ask you, what is or was one of your biggest struggles with making cosplay? How did you overcome this struggle? And if you haven't yet, what are some of the methods that you have discovered to manage it?
Who is this question from, if you don't mind me asking?
This is from me.
From him.
Oh, wow.
This was my sample question.
Okay.
Sorry if we're starting off with like
That's a heavy
question.
hitter. Yeah.
Like,
I think she's up to it though.
biggest struggle with cosplay is social media. I hate social media. I'm not a tech person and I like to build things and I forget to document, and social media is very stressful. Yeah, I got a lot of not filters. What are the like blocked words, blocked like the
Oh,
templates?
No.
like privacy filters and
No. This is normal, by the way. I'm terrible at spelling and reading, and
yeah, people are like hashtags or
yeah.
the hashtags.
Not
Well-
like the like keeping trolls away.
Yeah.
That's
No,
stuff.
bots?
filters is
Filters?
appropriate.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Spam bots and stuff.
sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
And you're talking specifically like Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, etc., stuff like that. So,
Dude, I totally get you. For what it's worth, like my biggest, and Chris will completely agree with this. My biggest issue is documentation. And you know what I think a lot of it relates to though is I go in these long spurts where I'm doing personal, really fun work. And then I'm doing like commission work that I like the process, but I don't necessarily love the subject matter.
Yeah.
And so I'm less interested in it. And so being creative is really hard when I'm not interested in something. And so that it makes it really hard to document that process. And so that's what I've been trying to do, is slowly get myself into a position where all of my work
Mhm.
is all stuff I find super fascinating. And if I can't make it fascinating for myself for like a real committed time, I'm not going to take the job, because it's going to end up worse.
Mm.
So that's like biggest absolute realization from 2020 was that, which was stop taking on work that you don't love, because it definitely, it cost me so much.
Yeah, I did a few of those last year. Yeah.
I
I
feel you.
I make what I want and I don't follow trends, and yeah. So
Well, hopefully, maybe with this 2021 season we've got in Ultimate Cosplay, we can help everybody get super excited about posting and sharing and doing social media, and help everybody figure out like better ways of accomplishing those tasks. I know I want to try to be way better at it. I'm still getting there for sure.
Yeah.
But if people in chat, if you guys have any suggestions, I think this is one where everybody kind of crowdsourcing that answer could help the most. Let's see. Why don't we move to another one? Are you ready?
Okay.
okay.
Who's
All
this
right.
from?
So this question's from Purple Dragon, and
Yep.
she wanted to know, um, who is somebody that motivates and inspires you at times when cosplay crunch is crazy?
Uh I mean, I it's kind of different for me because I make a new costume every month no matter what.
Yeah,
And like cosplay crunch is like the end of the month I have to finish a costume to give out rewards to like all the tutorials and the blueprints to everybody that supports me on Patreon, and I never want to disappoint anybody. Um so I guess that's more of my motivation, maybe, is like I don't know. Like uh
well, how does your Patreon platform work? Like, how do you have it structured? Because that's not something I've ever actually done really well, was Patreon.
So I have it where every month, so I do at least 2 tutorials over how like I made a specific prop or a wig for that cosplay that I'm working on. So this month is the Sacred Shield Charlotte cosplay from Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, which is what the big huge sword and shield. Let's see. Uh,
Oh, do we get to see it?
that
Oh,
thing.
she plasted it, so you can't see all the details. But
Yeah,
check
you
it
can't
out
see
on
it
her
as much now.
Instagram. It looks amazing. It's like her 4th post in. It looks incredible.
But
Oh,
yeah,
heck yeah.
so there'll be a tutorial on how I made the shield from scratch, including like making it out of EVA foam, how I made the attachment for the sword to sit in behind it,
Yep.
to painting. So it'll be stuff like that. I also do, and all my tutorials go 3 months early access to Patreon before going to any of my other platforms.
Yeah.
And then I do early access blueprints. Normally it's to whatever I'm working on as well, but the sword and shield were last month. So this month is doing like star shapes and moons and stuff, like more basic stuff for people. And
Sure.
then for higher tiers, I do like a full just normal photo shoot with the costume. They get exclusive prints, fan signs, and I no longer do prints for my website just because there's no cons and I have too many prints and I don't want more clutter in my
Right.
place.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Sure.
Did that answer your
That's
question? I'm sorry,
yeah.
I forgot
think
what
Yeah,
it
no,
was.
no. No, that was I think that was actually a perfect question, because I think what it represents is the fact that sometimes your inspiration is derived from all sorts of different places. I know Chris, what inspires you, Chris? Everybody knows I'm just mad, kooky, crazy builder guy.
Um, something Tiffany kind of just.
Can't hear you too well.
You can't hear me too well.
Oh, there.
Oh,
Yeah.
there it is.
You're directional.
Yeah, something Tiffany touched on that I don't think she fully went into detail about was you said you do a cosplay every month, and you said you did that to satisfy your community of what they expect, their expectations, and I predict, and part of me kind of knows this because we talk often, but you know a lot of that comes from within yourself. Like you have that internal drive to do that, and that's what makes you,
I'm a maker. I
right.
love to make things, and if I'm not doing something and I have free time, I create more work for myself.
Correct.
And it's bad, but it's good.
So, and we'll get to this in a bit, but and forgive me, Hoku, I didn't answer your question. What keeps me going is
the original question was actually, who is somebody that inspires you at times when everything seems crazy?
honestly, it's
My supporters? I don't know. Like just
I think that's a great answer. Yeah.
I was gonna say the entire community.
Yeah.
There is no soul or single person. I mean, there are influences, yes, but like for example, like I've been working truthfully way too hard since this competition was announced on too many different projects. And the purpose, what keeps me going is the drive of the love I feel for the community and what we're trying to build for the community on a global level. So that's really my answer. And part of it, like very little of it has anything to do with me. And I've talked about this before, but I don't like attention. I don't want focus on me. I want all the focus on all the judges, all the competitors, all the sponsors, which is counterintuitive because I am the focal point and the host of the show and the event and things like that. But thankfully now we have a committee of people that can diffuse some of the focus away from me onto you guys. So
if you will let them.
I am trying to. And
I have no idea what you're talking about, Tiffany. Please tell me more. Please, no.
Well, like I said, we'll get into more of that. And if you don't mind, this is the first podcast we've start right out of the gate asking community questions.
Yeah.
Or community-based questions. And I don't have an issue with that, but I really want again, Tiffany and I, we have meetings every Monday morning just to because we both are workaholics. We work our asses off. We both are very alert at all times. We know what we have to do. We know what our deadlines are. And I kind of wanted Tiffany to take a moment to maybe, if you're okay with this, to talk about.
Oh yeah, please do.
Where did you come from? What kind of work did you used to do? Why did you get into being a career builder? And I use the word builder for a very specific reason, and Tiffany will probably go into this at some point. But yeah, what's your history? What made you who you are, and what keeps you there?
Sorry, the cat's rubbing the mic.
It's fine. I'm gonna have cookies
You
show
might
up in
hear
my house
meows.
at some point. The cat's rubbing the mic. That sounds disgusting.
At some point, we need to meet the floof.
She wants attention. She keeps coming in and out of the room.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
So I guess for me, I've always loved art. I went to college for art. I have a bachelor in fine arts degree specifying in studio art and a concentration in fibers and weaving. And then I have a undeclared metalsmithing degree with
nice.
some graduate work with it. So I'm known, like in college, I made, oh, fluff. Sorry, 2 seconds.
Cat aggro.
She's claimed my cape now.
Chilling. She's fine. Yeah, okay.
I just wanted to make sure she needs her blankets and things, and that I don't want her because that's expensive fabric. Yeah. Like, don't do that. I'll put your blanket there. But we're good. Sorry, distracted. I get distracted really easily. But yeah, so I in college made 6 feet across paper ball gowns with I like welded hoop skirts, and then I did metal corsets, making them out of copper, bronze, and then sometimes I would cast pieces and whatnot like that. I was going to go to graduate school at the Royal College of Art in London, but declined that because it was too stupid expensive, and instead got an internship at a jewelry jewelry job, and then that became my full-time job. But I don't like jewelry.
You're totally
and
underplaying this too. Like, you designed and made jewelry. You're a bench jeweler. Like, you
yeah.
did that for years and worked for a big company. And
So I did all of the like design work, I did the prototyping, and then I'd have to like come up with everything for I can't go like too much into details
Sure.
just because of but so I did all that, but I wasn't happy with my job. And I at one point, so that's basically I did cosplay before college, went to college, stopped doing cosplay because I didn't want to be inspired by anime anymore. um and so, you know, that kind of, your work definitely looks like it's inspired by certain things at times.
yeah, if
So
you're making like Sailor Moon necklaces and stuff, that's
oh yeah, you
Yeah.
know.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
But I was really big into Marie Antoinette and like all of
Oh yeah.
like royalty families and stuff. So big into that. Like Alexander McQueen, Cindy Sherman, who is known for her photography and dressing up as basically stereotypes in the world, and taking a photo of herself, basically kind of what cosplayers do if you trying to portray a character, but she did it as just stereotypes of different people. So those are big inspirations in college for me. But yeah, after jewelry designing, got bored, so I again got back into cosplay, and then I made it my full-time job. Yeah,
Okay.
that's me.
Since 2016, you said?
2018 is when I
Okay.
quit.
Okay.
And made it my full-time. So
Okay.
What was your first costume?
Cosplay or costume?
Costume. Like, what did you start kind of learning towards the costuming path? Because you said that you have a degree in like fibers, right?
Yeah,
And weaving.
so first cosplay was Misa from Death Note in 2008. Costumes, I've kind of always just made things. But I made like a lot of just paper stuff. I always did kind of design work. Probably one of my military outfits was the first costume. Yeah, that probably sounds weird. Side note, I'm a World War II reenactor, so that's another story.
There's
With that
just layer after layer
background.
to you.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So, but yeah, I did all that. I don't
That's cool. That's
I'm
super
glad
cool.
you shared
So
that because I know that's not something that you talk about often.
No, I try, like, people there have a lot of people that like it, but then there's a hardcore community that doesn't. So I typically don't talk about it too much just because I don't want to cause controversy or whatnot. So
well, I know for me, I think that you know, world history, but U.S. history in particular is super interesting, and it's something that reflecting on kind of gives us so much of what we are today, you know, as a people and society. So I don't know about you, but you're totally welcome in my book as far as like reenactment. That's awesome. So I don't know, Chris, do you have any anywhere you want to take this conversation so far?
And obviously this goes for every guest, but you know, this is a safe place. You know, this is a place where, you know, obviously Hoku and myself get to, you know, meet you, ask you questions, but also we're speaking to the community of cosplayers around the world. We're speaking to our competitors for this event. We're trying to give people a little bit more insight into who you are, why you are the way you are, what you love, what you don't love, you know, what keeps you going, and as well as, you know, Hoku and I and every other guest that we have. So if there's something about you that's truth to you that you feel comfortable sharing, we encourage you to do that. And that could be, you know, so what no, there's a funny question we've been asking recently, and I say we just get right to this because this is one of my favorite questions. Yahoku knows what I'm going to say, but
Do it. It's a good one.
Okay, in the cosplay world, keep this, you know, non-provocative if you're able to. But what are your turn-ons and turn-offs in the cosplay world?
Details. I love details.
Okay.
Like when it comes to like props and costumes, whether it's sewing or armor or just anything, I'm drawn to it. I love seeing all of that. Yeah. Turnoffs. Hmm. 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 I don't know. I mean, I'm like, yeah. I don't know. I have thoughts, but like I don't know.
That's you don't.
Undecided.
Yeah, we've had some interesting answers to that question, and I think the average person says something along the lines of people that take themselves too seriously.
Mm.
Whether that's just people that are congoers or competitors. And I'm not trying to put words in your mouth or anything, but that's
No, that's true. Yeah.
a lot of what we've heard, and even myself echoed that. But and it's I love that you said details are a turn on, because I noticed there's a lot of people in chat and a lot of people that will watch this that are extreme detail oriented builders and makers.
Just bonkers.
Yeah.
Bonkers.
Like,
people.
for example, Spicy Ty is here right now, who is probably the most detail oriented builder that I'm aware of. And that's who I think of when I think of details. But anyway, so, okay, so you went full time as a builder, a maker, a pattern maker, a tutorial artist, a broadcaster. You know, you cosplay for fun, you go to cons, you compete, you're a judge in this particular event. You've judged at other events as well. But and this is interesting, because part of me is like, you know, I want you to share insight with other people that might want what you have, but talk about what that's been like for you. Or here, I'll say it this way: how easy has it been to be a full-time maker?
I just recently started breaking even. So I saved up a ton of money for grad school because going to grad school in London is super expensive. So, and that also having a full-time job where I made really good money. I have noisy cars, sorry. I just put like so much money into my savings and basically was just living off of that, and now I'm breaking even, which is wonderful. But yeah, so slowly going up in the world, I guess. But yeah.
But that's
It's
important,
been,
and I
yeah.
hope you don't feel embarrassed to say that out loud, because it's the truth.
Oh no, it's just like most people think when you say, "Oh, you're full time," and all of this, like they like you're making tons of money. Like I know kind of y'all make better than me, which is great. And that's one thing I would love in the future. But I know most people that want to go into that direction, I can't recommend it right off the bat. I'd say like you need to already be making money like on the side doing cosplay before just go cold turkey into it.
That's how I did it. I had to
yeah.
work for years before I could split off.
Yeah.
And Hoku, you
I did it while I was in school.
Right.
So I basically, rather than, you know, double decking on classes, which I normally would with education, it was like, I'm going to invest, you know, the same amount of time I would into a double major as doing props. So I actually ended up becoming a prop maker rather than finishing my economics degree, for example. And I think that in the long run, I'll probably end up wanting to go back and finish the economics degree.
Yeah.
But prop making, luckily enough, is getting me there. Especially now compared to originally. I mean, so much of it's just an investment of time. Like you start off by investing a significant amount of like savings or like some sort of capital or resource or a loan or whatever, right? Just to be able to afford all the tools and equipment. And then you're also investing all that time where you're not making money.
Yeah.
But hopefully at some point you're no longer investing all the money in tools. Now you're just investing your time and you get better and better and better at it. And
Yeah.
since you don't have to buy as many tools, it gets cheaper a little bit at a time. And then you get more efficient and effective. And then people like your stuff and you hustle. And it becomes a really rewarding thing as you progress throughout it, but it's definitely a slow build. But
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something that's so amazing about well, makers like yourself, for example, where you have faced the grind for a significant amount of time, and I think you're so close to reaching all of the fruition that so many people aspire for. On top of the success you've already gotten, I think it's important for me, at least. Like, I always have goals, so I never feel like I've succeeded. I'm always like,
Yeah.
I've just gotten further along, right? You know, and I'm okay with that because I like that process. It's like I always want to keep leveling up. I treat life like a video game. It's like,
Mm.
so speaking of video games, that Valheim game looks really cool, right?
You should play it. It's really fun.
It is really
I,
fun.
I
Yeah.
watched your stream. I watched you getting like you were super new to it. I think it was the first night you were playing, and like these
Yeah, I think
boulders
it
were getting
was.
thrown at you, and I'm just like, this game looks incredible. I'm sick from the
Highly recommend
COVID
it.
vaccine
Yeah.
thing, though. It's like a fever journey, man.
That's what I'll be doing tonight, and I always say I'm going to cut things from this interview, but I never cut things. This will
You
stay
really
in the
shouldn't.
actual interview. Yeah.
We can always do like a very fast trimmed, like 15 minutes if you really don't have the time thing later.
No, people are
No,
they're going
I
to
agree.
watch the whole damn thing, or they're not going to watch any of it.
I mean, it's like our contest. It's either 4 hours or nothing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have an
All right.
over/under bet. Hoku thinks it's going to be over 4 hours. I think it's probably going to be over 4 hours. I'm going to lose that bet, but so okay, so actually, now since you mentioned the contest, and I'm happy to share this. I hope this doesn't come across as an initial insult, but originally, last year after the event, Tiffany said, "Hey, if you need any support for next year, let me know." And I said, "Great, thank you very much." So she was originally going to be an admin support for our committee to help with processing submissions and stuff. And as I was going through, and Tiffany and I, we've done collaborative shoots for TNT Cosplay together. We've done sewing shoots together. We'd made Christmas hat tutorial video, whatever. And as I was going through your work and we were getting ready to announce, I was like, God, she's so talented. Why hide her behind all of that curtain as a support role? And I even feel bad saying that because Paisley and Glue and Saya Cat are both support roles as well, and they're both outrageously talented. But
Mhm.
regardless, I made the decision to ask you to be a judge, and you said yes. So how do you feel about this year's competition? Obviously, last year you were a finalist. You watched the whole thing, as far as I know.
Well, you're also the first person who's been on here that I've actually judged in a contest as well.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
Technically,
kind of
both of
exciting
y'all
too.
have.
Yeah, I judged Tiffany for TwitchCon last year, and you
Yeah.
judged her. That's
That's
bizarre. But she's
I didn't know that.
but we're all
I didn't really
friends
think
and we're
about
all
that one.
peers. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's really interesting. So anyway, how do you feel about being a judge in this year's event that we're doing?
I've been getting more excited, like with helping with talking for like more sponsors for the event has really kind of hyped it up for me more, because it's like I feel like I'm a part of it and helping throughout. And then having contestants coming into like my Twitch streams and like they're getting really excited, which hypes me up. And normally how I work is I don't get excited for things in the future at all. It's I do day by day. I have to do that. If I start worrying about something else, I'll get like stressed out or something. But I have actually been getting pretty excited for it, and I am really like excited to get all of the entries and just like look at all of them, and like that's gonna be that'll actually be very inspirational for me just to see everybody else's stuff. So yeah.
That's cool. I'm happy to hear that. And it also makes me happy to hear that other people planning to participate or compete are jumping in your stream, because Tiffany streams like every day, whether it's gaming or cosplay. But it's really cool to see that involvement. So, but yeah, this could be like out of control this year. Like, you know, last year was out of control, and this year might be a complete bloodbath, as far as processing submissions and stuff. But on behalf of, you know, myself as the host, and I think a lot of the other judges, I'm happy to say that I think you're going to be, or you already are, a tremendous asset to our team and to our community. And actually, is there anything else that? By the way, we're not like done. I feel like I'm asking questions that are like wrapping up the podcast, but that's not
Okay,
true.
that's it. Bye.
Yeah, see you guys, and then we all just disappear and we're all gone forever.
We hope our guest returns.
Yeah, I like that. It says we hope our guest returns. But yeah, one thing that's really fun about our particular show is that we can do whatever the hell we want. You know, we run it, you know, it's community run, it's community funded. It's basically all the rules are pretty much made up by the community. We just listen to what people want.
Half of which the first year were on the fly.
Yeah, we've made everything up like within a couple of days or less. But yeah, like, is there anything else that you might want to see this year? Like last year we had intermissions, and we had, you know, people sending in videos of the drop the brush thing, and we had, you know, credit rolls. We had all kinds of fun little bonuses. Do you have any other? I should have asked you this a long time ago, but
yeah, can I actually ask pretty much the same thing you're asking, Chris, but phrasing it in a little bit straighter way. Can you walk us a little bit through what being a competitor last year in the very first Ultimate Cosplay
great question
online Ultimate Online Cosplay Contest 2020, the one that started it all and we thought was going to end it all as well? What was that like for you? Like, where did you see it when it was announced? Maybe what was the just like,
you know my answer, right? Talk.
I think I do, but I still want to hear. I want to.
How did you hear about this mess?
That's a great question.
So I had applied for the spotlight on the TNT cosplay page, and then so I got that talk or whatever, and you had mentioned, hey, there's a contest if you want to enter, and I took that as, hey, we have nobody entering, please enter.
You're not the only person that thought that, because I told a lot of people about it, and they interpreted it as, we're not getting enough entries, please enter.
Yeah.
And that's not the case at all. We get
I don't think we were worried about it, but we also had no idea if we'd have more than like 3. It was like,
right,
we were gonna have 8 people judge 3 people if that's all that showed up, and we would have been like, first place winner is this person.
Right.
Here is like $20,000.
You're not the first person to say that sponsors. To me. So anyway, did you actually enter thinking that we were desperate for competitors?
Yeah, I thought y'all had like nobody. I was like, okay, well, things about me is when I enter a costume into any type of competition, I will never repeat it again, typically. So like if it was a finalist in any show, or even if I tried to get something and I didn't make it in, I typically will never resubmit a character. And the ruler Joan de Arc one from Fate, that one I had actually made, I think, like a year or 2 beforehand, and I was like, okay, well, this one I've never done before, and I'll just, there you go, it's easy, it's not a bodysuit kind of thing. And so yeah, that's how that one came to play. I didn't expect to be a finalist or anything, and I just was like, okay, you need something, here you go, at least you have something to show. So yeah.
Well, I mean,
that's amazing.
And you were in master class. So last year we had 2 classes. There was master class and intermediate. This year we don't have that. We have 3 categories, which you guys should be aware of. So we're not judging people based on skill. We're judging based on the category in which people choose to enter. And you, yeah.
Do you like the changes? Like, do you think that the changes are a good evolution from last year?
Oh yeah. I
Yeah,
think
cool.
I've talked a bunch also with talk about it. Our weekly meetings. I'm like, hey, here's what came in my head this week. We should change this. I'm that person that's like, oh, we should do this on the website instead, or suggest this. Hey.
It is
I
worth
think that's
mentioning that
awesome.
Tiffany has had a lot of influence over the way the website looks, the rules
Mhm.
are worded, the way things are
Yes, very much.
composed.
We changed the wording of everything.
No, but like Tiffany is. You make everything look or seem so easy
Well, think
between
of, oh man.
between producing, between running a business, between social media, branding, marketing, running a website, making patterns, Patreon, blah blah blah. Like the list could go on, but
Well, I think about your history and the different things you've done, especially, I dated a gal for a while who had her master's in metalsmithing and she did bench jewelry. And it was such a refined process, so delicate, so intricate. And you have to have such immense focus and
Mhm.
patience, right? Where it's
It's
like,
the eye. The
it
eye.
really is,
Mhm.
right? And so that's all you're doing. You're basically taking a jeweler's eye to
Mhm.
everything that you're seeing us do. And I can't express how appreciative I am for that because you're essentially helping us polish this diamond in the rough. Who else is
she
better
really
equipped
is.
to do that than somebody who's trained as a jeweler? I mean, come on, guys.
I mean, I do enjoy it, and I want everything to look good also. So it's not
Yeah,
like I don't ever mean to overstep either. I know some people. I'm very kind of blunt, I think, with things, and because I speak Taglish, because my blah, 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 yeah, that comes across as a lot of people don't understand me. But I'm happy that like talking to you and talk and like it kind of can get my thought ideas across
sure,
to a point. Um
sure.
yeah. So
Yeah, it's creative thinking at its finest. You know what I mean?
mm,
Some people speak the language, some people don't, and then I think a lot of us we figure out a lot of it. I think is also balanced with our artwork. You know what I mean? I know when I'm not making stuff, for example, I just turn into a mess, and then when I
mm,
finally get back to creating, it's like everything now seems to be running far better. So it's for me, it's how I deal with stress a lot of the time. You know,
mhm.
like I think that's what I like. I truly miss streaming ZBrush
Hmm.
on Twitch lately, and so I need to get back to
I
doing
miss
that.
that.
And it's so much fun to just sit here and just like get lost in it. And I've always got it up on my computer. It eats up and
Mhm.
hogs up resources. But even when I'm playing games, I refuse to turn ZBrush off half the time because it's like I need to make sure that I can have access to it at any moment. So
Mm, I
I
wish
I,
I
I
had that program. Oh,
I mean, maybe we got to figure out a way for you to learn ZBrush. I'm
I know
planning on teaching
ZBrush.
people. So hey, oh, you know ZBrush. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Maybe you can
I
help me.
for my CAD stuff, I would do for my process at my old job was Adobe Illustrator to do my basic 2D line work. After, well, you do a hand sketch, then you put it in, do your fine 2D lines, and then you would import it into Rhino. I
Yeah.
do Rhino 6,
Oh,
and
nice.
that's more of a jewelry program. So when everybody's like, "Why do you use this?" It's like, well,
Yeah.
that's
Hmm.
kind of my bread and butter.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and then from that, I call it like stupid CAD or like
Yeah.
basic CAD because I do everything just very basic. Like I don't um I don't round any of the edges in my CAD or anything. Also because I know my printers can't do that anyway, and I'm gonna go with a file with it afterwards.
Sure.
But I would then put it into a ZBrush and then do more fine details. But yeah, that was
Oh man.
fun.
I'm
I
having
didn't know
like
you knew ZBrush. I'm so excited to hear that. Sorry, chat. I know you're still there, but I'm like
it
here
not
kind of like
not like
fanboying a bit. I'm like, oh
super
my
super excellent, but
God.
yeah.
Yeah, but that's still amazing. That's super
Uh,
cool. So one final thing. I don't know if you've seen, but ZBrush released a month to month service if you can afford it. So you can get access to it for cheaper. And then they also have something called ZBrush Core, which is like basic. and it's
Yes.
like $100, and you get like the bulk of the suite that you need for what you're doing. So that might be an option. I don't know.
Maybe we should
But,
reach out and see if there'll be a sponsor, and then we can get a bunch of. Who
so
knows?
so I went to school for 3D at Noman, and they actually shared space with Pixelogic. So maybe I'll pull some of those strings, and maybe they want to be involved. I have no idea.
It's not too
Let's not make
late,
promises.
and I was gonna. I think we're up to like 22 some sponsors.
Oh, it's ridiculous, and I think
I'll
we've
count
got
them
like
later,
8
but
more.
more are coming
We've got
in,
more coming.
and we don't have to talk about sponsors on this, but I'm having flashbacks to when we interviewed Beverly Downen, and I know Tiffany, you didn't watch that particular interview, but something that I'm feeling talking to you that I felt talking to Beverly was she has such this like kind of critical thinking, critical mind for just how are things made? How are things dissected? How can I learn how to build something from nothing? And that's something that I very much see within you. And I think a lot of people might think that way, but not everyone does something about it. And that's no disrespect to anyone who doesn't dive in and find that stuff out, but you're very much one of those people that you have that kind of critical, dissective mind that wants to understand how things work, how they're made, and then you go through the effort to figure out how that works.
I don't know how to do it. I want to learn, and I'll teach myself.
Right. And then you teach other people along the way. And like, I know you guys are talking about highly technical, 3D modeling and printing techniques and resources and stuff like that, but everything from the simplest details all the way to some of the more sophisticated things, that's what true mixed media cosplay is all about, is taking those simple traditional things all the way to the most advanced things. And one particular project that was it was actually your TwitchCon submission from last year, where you had armor and
World of
props
Warcraft?
and and she had made this bodysuit out of spandex that she custom designed the graphics on it so that when she sewed it together, it would look just like.
I wanted it to look exactly like the game.
Exactly like it looked in World of Warcraft. And she had the shading perfect. Like, it looked like it was kind of one of those sprite, two-dimensional with shading. Like, that's exactly how it looked. But then you applied the basic, sewing principles to that. The basic, your most basic, EVA foam fabrication. And then, just adding layers and layers and painting and 3D printed elements, and then you had your whole Ashbringer sword, and like, it's just so fun to see that much mixed media in one particular unit. And that's that's a collection and combination of all of the dissecting you've done over the years of different techniques, different tasks, different mediums, different disciplines. And I'm actually kind of curious what well, you kind of answered it before, but what was your first medium that you ever worked with?
I'm not gonna count my before college cosplays.
Yeah, like cardboard doesn't count.
Yeah. Well, I never actually.
I posted a link of the comparison you put on Instagram, by the way.
Comparison?
Of your Radiant Lightbringer armor. That was the one we were talking about, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That one.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So all the undersuit is all, she designed it all in Photoshop and then had
There's a tutorial on YouTube if you want to learn how to do it yourself.
Right.
Is that the Onyxia Dragon Scale cloak? The cloak from it?
Permafrost cape.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah, they use that design. There's a couple of cloaks that look like that, like the Onyxia one that you get in vanilla looks like it too. It's super cool.
Yep.
I love it. That's the coolest cloak I think I've ever seen somebody make from WoW.
And it's all leather.
That one's all leather, yeah.
Yes, it's so nice and pretty, and it's airbrush painted. It's a mixture of black cowhide and veg tan, and then each piece, it's a bunch of different layers. So all the gold is in 3 separate layers, and then the purple pieces were a really thin black cowhide, and then those each had hand painted gold detail liney things, and then the main dark blue piece was 1 piece of black leather, and then just everything airbrush painted, and I hit the mic, and yeah, things like that. So
If you want to bring some true cosplay eroticism to Hoku, just talk about leather and
Oh yeah. Well,
yeah.
I think it's so funny because it's got like such this mysterious prestige kind of like projected onto it, and it's literally
mm.
just skin. It's literally just cowhide.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I think it's a very unique ancient material that's incredibly strong, incredibly durable, incredibly useful,
Versatile,
and
yeah.
most importantly, like it's
Mhm.
so versatile. You can use it in so many different ways. It's cool.
And to answer your previous
Daddy likes
question
leather.
of what materials I worked with first, after when I came back in 2016, I made 4 costumes all at once. I did Ciri, Yennefer, Geralt, and Triss from Witcher 3, and I wore Ciri, and then I had like my sister wear Yennefer, and I had 2 other friends wear the other ones. But all of those were like those were all metal pieces, so copper die formed, and patinaed and everything for the pendants, for Ciri's belt. The swords were wooden, which I don't work with wood anymore just because of like most cons don't like that and
Right.
the weight. And then all of the pieces were like leather. I handmade each of the chainmail for Geralt, uh, doing a drill with a dowel rod. You drill a hole in the dowel rod, holds steel wire, or I think it was steel I was used, but have one person do the drill, and then the other person just sit there as it winds up each of your steel into the coils, and then you just snip it, and then hand do all the chain links. Yeah, that I'm not doing again.
So like you've just talked about a lot of like you talked about chainmail, leather, fabric, foam fabrication, three, like you talked about ultimately every different mixed media element that there is. Now I have kind of a loaded question because I know the answer to this question, but prepare your mind for this. Hoku, glad that you're here to bear witness to this. But on
I'm ready.
average, how often do people assume that you made everything that you're wearing?
wait, wait, I make costumes? What? Yeah, I.
No,
I
and
yeah.
this I know it's kind of a I don't know if the word sensitive is the right word, but no, talk about that a little bit. What has been your experience with people assuming that you did not make any of your costumes? Have you had any issues with that?
Most people don't think I make my stuff, and I actually you touched it a tiny bit at the beginning, but I changed the word make to build,
Yeah,
because for me, building is actually the process of fabricating and constructing something, where making, I can make something by just putting pieces that I buy together, and I've made a costume.
right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, as wanting to be known as somebody who physically makes every single piece of my costumes and physically builds them all, um, I wanted to really like kind of change that terminology. So I've been in the process of doing that this last month. It actually was a suggestion, or like I was talking to my streams specifically because I always called my streams cosplay making streams, and I didn't want it to be like that. So it was I don't know if he's still in chat. I saw him earlier, but Just Great had suggested building. So I've been using that, and I really love that term now, at least for me. And it kind of feels more like I'm a crafter and less of just like putting something together kind of thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, I understand seeing what Sammy's gone through. She faces the same struggle sometimes where people just don't really take her as seriously. So there's a lot of times where people fail to recognize that most of the props, and I'm specifically referring to like all the hard surface stuff that we do, like the armor and all that. Sammy's a far better finish sander than I will ever be. Believe it or not, she's got the patience for it. She actually enjoys the process. Um, we got her this really fancy oscillating pen sander. It's like the tiny, tiny little tricky guys. It's like little microfiles and stuff, right?
Mm.
And so I've got her using that, and then I've got a Fordham with like the little micro end mills on it, and she's just like, getting all giddy, and she tills one, and she's like, oh no. But suffice to say, it's far and few between where a lot of people in the community, I think, take female makers and builders, as you said, legitimately, and that's something I hope can change over time. So just, you guys heard it here, whether it's Tiffany or Sammy, like, don't count them out and don't just assume that they are not responsible for what you see on them. Oftentimes they're the ones who are making everything. So
Mhm.
Well, and
yeah.
something we have talked about before is that cosplay as a community globally is dominated by women. Period.
Sammy.
It's like 4-1, female to male, and
Oh yeah.
there are far more women that compete that build from scratch, and like obviously there's no direct statistic or science, but that's just at every competition you look at, it's mostly women competing because
Mhm.
uh I don't actually have an answer for that, to be honest, but at the same time, I've been a victim. I don't like to use the word victim, but I've boothed 2 times at art shows and craft fairs, and I started in fabric and leather, and I made a lot of fabric goods and clothings and bags and stuff. And when I would booth with, I was dating a girl at the time. They just assumed she made everything because it was all fabric, and it was
Mhm.
all embroidery, and it was all vinyl cut stuff, and then I didn't expect that for some reason. So
Yeah.
people thought I was there as her support role, which, so I kind of understand what that feels like. I wasn't
Mhm.
maybe quite as offended, to be honest,
Right.
because it's non-traditional. Um, but if I was in your position of someone who had built everything, designed everything from the ground up, I would be heavily more offended by that. And I'm not trying to, invoke resentment or anything, but it's very interesting. And I really hope that more people at least do research, or like, because the thing that's funny about Tiffany or Beverly or Sammy or any of these other artists is all you have to do is look them up and you'll find out that they made it. You can see pictures and videos and
Yeah.
patterns and all this, like, it's all there. Why are people not taking that fraction of time to just look up, did they actually make that or not?
Yeah. Yeah.
And any true craftsman, whatever, can tell, you know, if something is original, one of a kind, handmade, custom formed, whatever. It's, I think, the people, the general public that aren't builders, that aren't makers, that can't tell the difference. Or like, where the hell else can you buy an Ashbringer that looks as good as the one you made, or that, shield and, sword combo that you're currently in the process of building? Like, you can't buy that anywhere.
No.
I got a lot of questions on how did I 3D print that? It's not 3D printed
Right.
except for the gem. And that's the only part because I'm not going to make a gem.
Yep. So anyway, like, I know this podcast is what it is, but like, I wanted to get a little bit more insight into your mind as to how that is there any part of you that it that concept helps push you to work harder, or does it just piss you off? And I'm curious.
It just makes me grumpy.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fair.
It's the whole social media thing of like, eh, eh.
Right.
Is that what you is that one of the things that kind of like causes you frustration with social media? I know it is for me. Is just
Um,
constantly kind of just being in that position of like, sometimes for me a lot of time it's just like having to do it. But what about you?
for me, I'm not good with words, especially when it comes to like trying to type something on my phone. And like, that's kind of why I started doing tutorials originally, was because my Ario costume blew up and everybody's like, how did you build this? How did you do this? How did you do this? And I was just like, I can't respond to everybody. I'm trying really hard now to like at least do smiley faces and say thank you to comments, because I can't do small talk. I can't like I don't I'm just awkward when it comes to things like that. But yeah, that's why I started doing the tutorials, was to answer those questions. And I start just doing like, see this video, it'll answer your question. Go there, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's always just been like that. And I don't know, it's just social media in general is stressful. I see, like, I am the biggest critic on myself when it comes to my work. And I think most makers are probably like builders and everything are probably the same way of like, you don't think this is good, but everybody else thinks it's amazing, but you see all the flaws in it and everything. And like, I don't know, it's just, it's hard to do all of that and like just keep putting up things and try to do words on things, and words are hard and meh. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh man, how many times? Let me ask you this question, because it's something I've had presented my way so many times. So a lot of what you have talked about being like more the difficult side of it, or just feeling the enjoyment from it, I guess. How frustrating is it for you when somebody's like, you just need to learn when good enough is good enough, and it's like, no, but that's not okay.
I've actually
don't know what
never
that
had
is.
anybody say that to me.
I haven't either.
Really?
Uh-uh.
But that
Oh
would
my
piss me
gosh, it's
off,
just
yeah.
like, you just need to learn when good enough is good enough, and it's
But
just
the
like,
thing for
Yeah,
me
say
is,
that to Vulpin Props and see what he
I know.
responds, right?
because of my last job though,
Right.
like, it was you had to always do something that was, because potentially you're making a product that's going to make multi-million dollars just off of one charm or something. And so you always had to constantly be turning around. I'd have to make one piece like 5 times that week over and over again, and you'd have to hit the deadlines, and you'd have to constantly be making it better. And everything um had to have hand details, hand touches to it. So it's kind of like nothing's ever good enough. There's always something you can change. Same with art school.
Yeah.
Critiques, you are not allowed to
Yeah.
say it looks good. No, you have to say
it's
this piece was like I can't say the word executed. There we
Sure.
go.
executed. Yeah.
But this piece I think could have been improved on because of this. Why didn't you try this? And everything had to come with a, this could be improved on. So there was never, nothing you do is ever perfect.
Oh, yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
that's my.
That's a really interesting, like, kind of, because I went to art school, and your critique was part of that, and professor critique was part of that. Obviously, you guys have both dealt with that. I think all three of us have, and that's something that doesn't always necessarily apply to cosplay. Obviously, it does in competitive cosplay, but not everyone gets the chance to hear what the judge's true opinion was on a particular thing. They do their scoring, they announce the winner, that's it. Once in a while, someone reaches out to a judge and says, hey, what could I have done better? But they don't always hear back, So
Yeah.
it's, cosplay is one of those things that, yes, it's absolutely an amazing art form, but I don't know if this is a good thing or not, but it's not as subject to critique as any other art form that I've ever seen. And
That's because you don't, when you post your stuff, you don't want critiques on something that you do.
exactly, and that's the point.
It's only if you're asking.
I was just gonna say, unless you ask, you're not really asking for people's opinion, or
Yeah.
you're not
It's
welcoming people's opinion unless you're asking.
Exactly.
But
You're not open to critique. You're not opening that as a session where, like, hey, tell me everything you think is wrong. It's like, hey guys, check out the cool thing I did.
right,
And
Yeah.
it's like, I'm not asking for your negativity. but
Don't tell me like this and
inevitably
that
it
and
comes
that.
your
And
way.
like
tons of people do it anyway, right?
A lot of people in chat reacted to what I had said when I was saying, like, people saying, well, can't you just learn when something's good enough? And I just wanted to answer you guys really quick with the answer I typically give them, which is, sure, but this is unacceptable.
Right.
So it's a battle of wills, I guess, at that point. How long am I going to keep working on this, and how long are you going to think that you have
Yeah.
an actual, like,
when you have a
opinion on when I can
deadline, it
stop?
has to be finished at a certain point,
The
and that's
only
it.
master is the deadline. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
So it's as good as I can do in the
Mhm.
deadline.
and there's always a deadline. There's whatever. No, there's I love this conversation that we're having, and I okay, so something I want to be careful of, and we've brought up a lot of things about, like, Tiffany, what bothers you about this, and what do you hate about that? And I don't want to do that. I don't want to keep focusing on
Okay,
that
so
kind of so
immediately jumping forward to my next question, do you have a dream build?
perfect.
So,
Doesn't have to be like the top one if that doesn't exist. Do you have a couple? Is there something that you're feeling like really interested in right now that you're like, man, I want to cosplay something from that?
I like wings.
You like wings.
Yes, characters with wings I'm drawn to.
Yeah.
I really like, for me, I have like a list of cosplays that one day I might do, but I don't really have too many of like I guess one dream build would be from Kill la Kill, the final form of the main girl. I forget her name because I'm terrible with names, but she has like these four glowing wings and epicness and stuff. And just forget the clothing part. Like, we're not going to discuss that. But I love the wings and the final formation and everything. And like, that's cool to me. Yeah, Daniel with the wings.
So wings for you are kind of the equivalent to characters that have cool eyeballs that are unique. Where I'm just like, I could make that. And then I have to
Mm.
weigh whether or not anybody would actually like recognize the character. But geez.
How many
Thank you for
cosplays
that.
have you done of characters that have one eye?
I mean, like 3 or 4,
Okay.
I think. I mean, well, actually, no. Technically, every single character I've cosplayed since 2014 when my accident happened, all of them had to have a unique eye because they became
Mm.
one-eyed.
Well,
Trevor
yeah,
Belmont,
for sure.
one eye. He lost it to a gargoyle.
Oh man. So if Tiffany's all wings and you're all Cyclops, then what the hell am I? Like, I have to have a theme. Mine is my character has
Yours
to
is
have
Monster Hunter.
You're
right,
Wolfman
Monster
Jax,
Hunter,
man.
or it has to be a character with a beard. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I mean, I really liked your werewolf. We could
And
just hunt
as
you.
the X Sisters would have said, we didn't change much. We just put a bigger shirt on him. Because that's what I naturally look like. As you can
Oh,
tell,
goodness.
my hair, if I don't trim it, does grow up to near my eye socket right here.
Mm.
So yeah, when I did the werewolf prosthetic, not a whole lot changed.
Dude, that was so funny.
But okay,
Mhm.
so going along the lines of kind of positive growth, and forgive me if we ask too many, like, I don't know, just anger-inducing questions, but what do you look forward to? Not just with your own builds and your own progress as a builder, but what do you personally look forward to once cons open back up, and live competitions, and maybe boothing or doing workshops or doing panels? Like, what kind of goals do you have that you get to look forward to?
I mean, to be honest, COVID didn't really change my life because I'm in the middle of nowhere and I don't leave my studio. I work here. So the only thing that was different, like I was only going to like PAX South was the one I went to every year. But otherwise, because I break even, I can't afford to go to cons. So I only went to ones that I was a guest at, and that was like maybe 3 or 4 a year. So it's really just like same old, I guess.
Okay.
I am looking forward to like hopefully going to more again.
I was gonna bring that
Maybe,
up.
maybe.
Yeah.
We will see. But yeah. I'm looking forward to more shops being built in my small town so I don't have a fabric store called Hobby Lobby.
Oh no.
That would, yeah, I feel terrible for you.
The closest Joann's is an hour and 40 minutes drive, and then
Yeah.
an hour shopping there,
Holy
finding my
cow.
fabrics, and then another hour 40 back, and not worth my time. And I don't want to shop online for fabric unless I'm designing it.
The next time we do a video shoot in Dallas, I'll take you to the fashion district and we'll get you piled up with a whole bunch of fabrics.
We went both times I was at your place. We went to the fabric stores.
We went to Joanne. We didn't go to the fashion district.
Oh, okay.
I'll if next time you're in Southern California and things are open back up, Sammy and I'll take you to the LA fashion district.
Which is wild.
And
I've never been to like a real fabric store besides like Joann's is the top that I've been to give you an idea.
I can't even begin to describe what the LA fashion district is like. Imagine
I want to go to Mood.
Imagine 1,000 warehouses, 1,200 square foot, 20-foot high ceilings, and being terrified that the just incredibly overpacked, overstuffed pallets that are probably from the 30s are going to come. Just keep in mind, California is known for earthquakes.
Right.
So at any time, we've got a historical past of earthquake issues, but it's incredible. And you can find things. I mean, there's bargaining, it's barter system, and you can just find I've got a couple of videos on my YouTube if any of you guys are interested.
They're not organized. They're not pretty. They're very...
It's insanity.
They're very industrial. And TNT just brought up, we went to a fabric store at C2E2 in Chicago, and it was a giant old factory that was turned into a fashion warehouse, and it was brilliant, but it wasn't pretty like Joanne. You know, they don't mop the floors. They don't have, you know, all the whatever. Anyway, yeah, we will take you somewhere better than Hobby Lobby the next time that we're able to do that. But
nonetheless,
I mean, there might be a reason why I make my own fabric. I mean, you know,
whether through Spoonflower or you're modifying, you know, just cheap, you know, quilters select
I mean, I
fabric.
made paper into fabric to make paper dresses, so I'm kind of I'm used to that part.
Okay, so and we've talked about the idea of, and a lot of people watching this know that, you know, Ultimate Cosplay has obviously a lot of goals beyond just this event. Tiffany is privy to a lot of that knowledge, and obviously Hoku here being one of our co-founders. You know,
hello.
We have goals to obviously put on this amazing international show, or as amazing as we can make it. But then afterwards, we're going to start production on our first book, which we were greenlit for last month, and then we have a lot of goals to do in-person booths at cons. We'd like to do some judging at cons, panels, workshops, craft-alongs, whether they're virtual or in person. We have a ton of goals. We have a lot of things that we want to do. We want to give as much as we can, and part of that is going to require some of our roster or committee of artists and judges or whomever to be at some of these cons. So I asked Tiffany, you know, if we asked you to come to, you know, what's the Anime Expo? Is that the big one in California?
Oh yeah.
Like if we were to ask you to go to
Anime Expo out in LA
and help run the booth and be part of the cosplay repair station and sell t-shirts and hang out, would you do that?
Yeah.
That means yes.
Sometimes to be had. There's so many. That's such a crazy convention too. And the thing that's cool about it though is it's got stuff going on nonstop. Like there's a lot of after hours stuff that happens in panels and karaoke. Oh man, Sammy loves karaoke. So it's I always get dragged in for karaoke night at conventions.
Yep.
But yeah, it's a blast, and I think I really hope that when things reopen that we all have a chance to truly just get to know one another, you know, all of us, the community, the people involved, both with it last year as well as with the contest this year and then into the future, and take all the opportunities that we've not been able to have from 2020 and just make up for it. I think 2022 is going to be a great year for so many people, and that's something I'm excited for.
I'm really glad you brought that up, because, and I think Tiffany will have something to say about this, but going to cons is wonderful. It's brilliant. It's fun. It's blinding. It's, you know, it's everything. But the one thing, my biggest complaint of cons is I don't get to have enough meaningful, long conversations with people and really get to know them, right?
Family dinner night.
What?
Family dinner night.
Yeah.
You did
about
mention
that.
that at PAX South for sure, but like, and that's maybe the closest you get, but.
Well, I did that also with other judges.
Oh, okay.
I try to do that all of the ones that I'm like a judge at. I like, let's all go eat so we can kind of all talk to each other.
Good. And it's
That's
important
actually...
that things like that happen. But at a lot of cons that doesn't happen. And I like that you do that. I know Hoku and I do that. But
well, it's actually something that's really common on the West Coast, as well as like most international conventions. They have planned gathered like networking nights between all the judges and the professionals, and they do that at a lot of conventions. And I noticed that when we did a couple conventions in Texas, the one we did in Austin worked, but I didn't have a chance to experience Dallas because pandemic. So hopefully we get to experience it, in the future. But I think that that's a great thing, like the whole like gathering and getting to know each other. I think it's such a shame when networking doesn't happen between both the community as well as some of the judges and professionals, but also just amongst themselves. Like it's so valuable to kind of share notes and tie, your different thought processes together. So I'm all for family dinner night. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. Well, and Tiffany, how, in your opinion, or how would you say, how well have you been plugged into the builder maker community before, during, and now? In terms of pandemic. Between cons, quarantine, and what has happened since quarantine. What has been your experience with how you've interacted with people?
I'm a lurker. I see everything. I hear everything, but I'm quiet and I'm very shy when it comes to things. And I've told you, you and Missy were like my first true cosplay friends, I guess. Otherwise I'm just like awkward and like I don't know. I like going to cons, sitting out of costume on like the second floor and people watching with friends.
Okay.
You and Sammy would get along, I think, tremendously.
Mm.
Because I don't know, it's weird. I don't know. Sammy, do you agree? She's like, yes, and there's a corgi in her lap.
Not every. I mean,
actually,
actually, not every cosplayer is a social butterfly. In fact, most of us are not. Truthfully, I kind of pretend to be, or when I put on a costume, I feel more socially comfortable. But no, I knew the answer to that question before I asked it, obviously. But no, I was just wondering. Do you feel like you've grown closer to people since quarantine? I certainly do. And I'm wondering if you do as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. But that's something I never expected. I never expected like Hoku has been a very good friend of mine for years. And
yeah, that talk custom in California video was like 2017 early.
It was like 2017, yeah. And quarantine has only made my relationships with people stronger. In fact, I formed new friendships with people that I knew who they were, but we'd never had a conversation until lockdown. And I just started calling people, or people would call me and we'd say like, hey, let's talk for 4 hours or whatever. Tiffany always makes fun of me because we can't have less than a 2-hour conversation. And
every time, 10 a.m. to 12. Okay, talk. That's the end. I gotta get ready.
She has her stopwatch and a big bell, and yeah, whatever. But I'm trying to get better about that. But
what's funny is I hope you realize that those are like emotional support calls. When I get a call from you, Chris, especially last year and this year, it's an emotional support call where it's like, hey, my spidey senses are tingling. Do you need a little more talk in your life? And then we talk. You call me and I'm like, hey, I've got to talk for a bit.
Yeah, we do that for each other, and there's lots of people that have been doing that. So anyway, if there's anyone watching this that that feels that disconnect. And by the way, like I live alone. I've been literally bitching to Hoku and my brother this week. Like I don't feel lonely, but I'm literally alone all the time. Like
Mm.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
see
isolation.
anyone ever. And the closest I get is, you know, these long-winded conversations I have with Tiffany every Monday, or when I call Hoku every day or whatever. But that's a privilege that I get to have, you know, assuming people allow it to exist. But um
I guess what we're saying is if you guys don't have people that you use as a support group, maybe the community with Ultimate Cosplay can fill that void, and just be willing to open up to a couple of people at least, because you might find some commonality with them. You know what I mean?
it certainly has been in our Discord server. I can't believe how active it's been. In fact, if I'm
Doing, 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 doing. I know it's like I keep hitting the notification for the push notification to like mute it for 15 minutes, and then another one pops up and kills my action.
Yep.
And then I'm just like, ah!
I'm gonna make a if anyone's not in our Ultimate Cosplay Discord, I'm gonna make a link for it. Continue speaking while I do this, please.
Making word mouth stuff. I'm gonna are you open to an easy an interesting question that I'm super interested by as well? It's on photography, actually.
Okay.
Um Skylar Summercrest 23 has a question for Tiffany. What are some of your best tips for taking photos and videos of your cosplay?
So I have a friend that does all of my photos, as in they push the button. That's it. I do all the editing myself. But for me, I'm super short. I'm 5'2".
Oh
All of
wow.
my costumes, I wear like 5-inch heels, so I'm a little bit taller. And to make me look really tall, also, my photographer takes pictures on the ground upwards. So that
Mhm.
way it extends or like lengthens. Is that the word? Lengthens me.
Yeah.
But yeah, doing that. And then uh I try natural lighting. I don't really like I have a whole setup for photography that I've invested in for like the square rectangle softbox lightings, and like invested in the drapey thingy background thingy and words and the taglish, you know.
Stylish, yeah.
But I've never really liked the lighting of that. I don't like the color, even adjusting it in Lightroom. Like when it comes to my editing, I never change how I look. I don't touch up on the costume. I don't ever fix anything. It's only lighting that I change in like the tints, and it's very subtle. I don't hardcore do anything. But yeah. Was that the question?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I have a follow-up to that one from me.
Mm.
Do you consider so I'm somewhat well known for doing more of the airbrushing and the painting and gradients and stuff as well. As well as a ton of weathering. But
In your work or in Photoshop?
oh, in my work,
Okay.
I don't do any of my own Photoshop
Mm,
editing at all anymore because I love what other people do.
mm.
Um, no, I guess what I'm getting at is I put a lot of thought into the paint that I use, and I was just curious, is that a consideration that plays a lot into when you're building? Is I feel like when you take so much effort and
I
initiative to
build
get
for
the
the
paint,
camera.
exactly. That's exactly what I was trying
That's
to ask is
why,
how much building for the camera do you do?
yeah, that's why
Because
I
that
was
does make
saying I
that does make
mirror
the work
my
so much
camera.
easier for them.
Yeah, like because I stream so much, and I was saying like I mirror my camera normally on my streams, is
Hmm.
because I'm looking how does it look on this camera? Because this
Sure.
is a shitty camera. Like it is okay, whatever. But I know my camera is gonna pop it even more.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I know because I do all of my own editing, I know how it's gonna look. When doing photos, a lot of times I'm kind of directing. Like it's a back and forth, but I'm really like I have a vision in my head of how I want the character to look and be
Oh yeah.
represented. Um, so it kind of goes based off of that. But I've always like even with Ariel, so the giant blue wings, the illusion on camera is really really pretty for the wings,
Hmm.
but in person, it's blue tulle that lights up. It's cool.
Yeah.
The acrylic paint on the tulle makes it reflect the lighting, so it kind of glows a little bit more. but it was
Mhm.
made for the camera. And that's how I kind of do a lot of my costumes.
Yeah.
And like it really like a lot of times I don't do photo shoots with other photographers because they don't really understand how I kind of made it most of the time for certain things and for certain angles. And so a lot of times it'll look really flat,
Oh,
which
sure.
is why I kind of like do it myself, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly the answer I was expecting, and totally nailed the head of the hail or the nail. Like perfect. Um, that's something that I see a lot of people make a mistake with in their costumes is I think there is kind of a distinct difference between building a costume that's supposed to be seen in person, or at least emphasizing that a bit more than a costume that has to be photographed
Yeah.
or done with video. You can find like
It
a
can get
happy
really
middle ground.
muddy with colors.
Exactly.
Mm.
You can get muddy, but also the specularity, the sheen of the sealant that you use, like the clear coat. I see a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people choose to use just like all gloss paints, for example, and they don't realize that like dirt and oil and certain things will have a different matte or a different sheen
Mm.
to it. And so it's kind of like controlling how the different reflectivity of that surface really
Mm-hmm.
expresses itself. It can play such a role in presenting so well. You know, if you've got like a really high gloss finished paint and you've got like soft boxes all over, you're still going to get this really weird, like visible
Mm-hmm.
spectral, specular like
That's
reflection.
why I like outside lighting versus
Exactly. And so
inside because it just
that's yeah,
you get the
you're able to
unnatural
build with
light.
gloss paint, and that's
Mm.
amazing. Like that's something I haven't done for a long time is use like high gloss paints because you don't have the right effect in real life unless like you're outside. Like high
Mm-hmm.
gloss outside, oh my gosh, it looks like it's wet almost,
I
right?
live in Texas. We only get snow once in a lifetime, and it causes the whole state to go dead for
And that
a
just
week.
happened, right?
Yeah,
Oh
and work
man.
on costumes and candlelight.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I just want to say I want to try doing a costume build or a prop build one of these days that's completely intended for video or for photo,
Mm-hmm.
because like there's so many cool tricks that I've not really experimented with, but seeing a lot of your Instagram gets me really pumped and excited to
Mm.
kind of like attempt some of that, because it's like, man, you can do like longer exposures and get like the effects. Like my Bolvar costume, for example, the cloak is literally on fire and it's like smoldering and it's supposed to be smoking. We've got the smoke elements, we've got the sparkle like fire elements because we lined the whole interior surface of Bolvar. There's like probably like 800 or 900 individual different cut strands of fiber optics. And so it's like I want to really like get the effect, but I never did it properly because it
Mm.
doesn't work as well. So yeah, just saying I'm super pumped. All right. So, Chris, do you have a question? I think we're out of podcast questions from chat. So if you guys have any
I
more, shoot
do
them our
actually.
way.
And I appreciate you guys talking about the photography element so much because obviously we've talked about so many different mediums and techniques and disciplines, but that's just one more facet to what cosplay is, is we're creating art. How do we showcase and express that art to other people that can't see it in person? And that's
Right.
how you do it, and that's important. So thank you guys for going into depth about that, especially for other people that are just getting into building, that are
Oh.
wondering. Yeah, go ahead.
It also helps for doing self photography. Um, so you can kind of see behind. Wait, which way? Which way? This way. You can kind of see here. There's like a white wall part. It's actually a photo drop, and I do all of my inside like not my main photo shoots, but like the ones where I'm holding the two keyblades. I have my camera. I set it on my table like right here, and then I'll do a timer, and then I'll kind of do that myself.
Yep.
But that helps a lot too. Having a plain wall doesn't look great on stream because you don't have a pretty colorful backgrounds and cool things, but I use it every day, and having just like a naked wall helps for social media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have, if we've run out of viewer questions, I do actually have a question, and in honor of Women's History Month, you're one of our female builders on the podcast this month. Is there anything specific to, being a female maker or builder that you want to share with other women or with other people that identify as female, as any words of inspiration or anything that you've succeeded or struggled with since the beginning? Is there anything that comes to mind?
I mean, we kind of talked about it earlier on
We did.
the maker builder thing, but I don't know. I don't. Hmm. 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 Words.
I know
I don't know.
that was a pretty heavy question.
We have some heavy questions today.
I mean, I just always am working hard, and I don't ever want to be like. I want to be equal as the guys, and I don't want to be spotlighted because I'm a female. So I don't. I don't know.
That's a brilliant answer. It really is. And
Yeah.
I know it was short and sweet, but it said a lot. It's just that you don't want people to care what orientation, gender, whatever you are. You just want to be respected as an artist, as a builder, and I think that's really valuable. Um, so seriously, like that. You only said one or two sentences, but that spoke very loudly to me, and I hope it did to some other people here, because that's important.
Hey, translations from talk.
Yeah.
Well, if that's fair, and I'm not trying to.
Oh
fill
no,
in,
it is. I just it's like you, because you know how I talk, and
I
I know
do.
my words are like meh. So.
Well, I
and
think
it's. Go ahead, Chad.
well, real quick. So I'm gonna read something somebody said from chat, but the Feathered Phoenix says, "I want to be respected for what I do, not who or what I am."
Yeah.
And that's completely right. I mean, whether it's your gender or your disability or it's your hair being long and majestic, like we've only got so many things that I think really define us, but our actions don't have to be defined by what we look like. You know what I mean? It's something that we say every single podcast, convince people through actions, not through words. And whether it's through crafting or through implementing change or just trying to take the initiative to reach out to people and highlight what they're doing for all the right reasons and not just because there's something that looks different about them. you know that's something everybody deserves, is to be basically put on a level starting ground. And it's sometimes I think it's admirable when you've got a handicap to push past it and persevere, but that's just because that's life. We've all got our own angels and demons, right? And so once again, it's still just important to make sure you keep going. So I know we talked about a bit that earlier, so I don't know. Thanks for that. That's
Yeah.
a lot of thoughtfulness to put into that.
Yeah. And we'll probably wrap the official podcast up here in a moment, and we'll hang out after for some of our viewers.
Well,
but
I've got a question that we owe, which is, do you have any questions for us?
oh, that's right. You always turn the tables. And there she goes. She just melted out of her chair. Like Zoidberg.
No, that one's
Right.
Yeah.
You do a good
that's a
Zoidberg,
notification.
actually. Yeah.
When did I know the answer from talk, but Hoku, when did you start cosplaying? You said like in college or making props?
So I'm a lot like you in the sense that I truly love to know how things work. It doesn't matter if it's a physical item or just more of a metaphorical thing, right? Trying to understand people's choices with economics or psychology, or trying to understand, how this device works, right? Like I've been inspired to do that, I think, since the moment I existed, right? And so I loved Halloween. I loved building stuff. I started making props with my neighbor because he decorated his house Nightmare Before Christmas every year for Halloween through Christmas. It was a lot
Yeah.
of fun.
Sorry,
And we
I
would.
got the.
Oh, you're
You
fine.
can see.
It
Nobody
was
else can see.
no. I see this tail or paw or just ball of fluff in your face. It's adorable.
She's just like crawling on my chair right
My
now.
cat doesn't love me. I
Your cat doesn't love
I'm
anything.
jealous.
Yeah.
No,
I
she
can
loves
make it my
herself
friend.
and she loves food.
I am the cat whisperer, and I
That's-
yes.
I'm sure you would doll her right up. She would be just
Mm.
snuggles. But so I'd made props and been really interested in it. So I was a prop maker starting really in 2011,
Mm.
but I had made like Halloween costumes, right? So kind of like you, like I'd made costumes but not cosplayed. My
Yeah.
first real cosplay was Lionheart for TwitchCon. It was my present to myself for graduating college. And so in 2016, I got my bachelor's degree in business, and I was like, I'm going to do something for myself. And that was to build myself my first costume, because I'd seen all these people. I'd build costumes for them and they'd enjoy it and they'd be at conventions and a bunch
Yeah.
of people knew me, but I hadn't actually participated. And I think that's because I hadn't found a character that I truly resonated with. Like,
Mm.
well, Reinhardt, he's this big lug of a guy who loves everybody. He lost an eye through a traumatic event protecting people.
Hmm.
I didn't lose an eye protecting people, but I like to think that I would have if that was the choice given.
You're protecting your silicone from bubbles is what you were doing.
Let's suffice.
Sorry to
No,
get that specific.
it was resin, but
Or-
suffice to
right.
say, fast forward, it doesn't change the fact that I felt a lot of resonance with his character. And so I made Reinhardt. And when I first started investigating, I heard about Twitch and I heard about TwitchCon.
Mhm.
And I'd met somebody from Twitch and they were like, hey, if you are a cosplayer and you're doing Twitch related stuff, you
Yes.
should consider making a costume. We're going to have some fun cosplay stuff at TwitchCon. That was all I heard. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that's great. It's in California. So finding out like it was in California, it was like, cool. Even if I just get into the competition, like I get a travel stipend and I live here.
Oh, that
It's
yeah.
a fun little free vacation where I get to go cosplay. Somebody's going to pay for me to go cosplay. And I wasn't getting invited as guests or anything like that at that point. So it was like, this is great. And I'm going to meet my friends on Twitch, like Talk Custom. And Sammy and I can go have like a fun time. And Jason can have a fun time. He's another guy that helps out with a lot of stuff. And so it was just like, man, like that was my first cosplay experience, was winning TwitchCon. I kind of scored the lottery with that
Yeah.
one, and,
Yep.
and I will forever be grateful. By the way, if you guys want to see the madness, like I'll put a link to it in chat, but there's a video that Jason, he goes by Kurakami Props if you're from my community. He actually captured them announcing on his cell phone, and it's on my social media. But it's like, I'm not trying to brag. I'm sorry it came off that way, but
No, it's all good.
it genuinely it was my first experience, and I'm so grateful for that, because
Mm.
it was a life-changing event that I will always have that as a reference point of what cosplay means to me, if that makes sense. So just so you guys know, that's as one of the organizers for this event, I've never had like a chance, I think. I guess I answered it last year, but that's what cosplay means to me. It's having opportunities like Lionheart. And I want to make sure other people have opportunities like I had. So boom.
Yeah.
Okay, then for talk, what's your next cosplay gonna be?
Ooh. I've got two ideas, and actually I think Hoku asked me this yesterday, and I've got two lined up that I really want to do, assuming I have time. But after the contest, which is going to be in May, there's two things I want to do. One is the Kyrian Bastion armor from Shadowlands of the Hunter, the male armor, which is beautiful. And I really want to do it with all the lighting and the wings, and it's just a gorgeous set of armor. And my current dream cosplay is the Shara Isvalda from Monster Hunter World. That might be like a 2-year build, but those are two of my current cosplay goals. I'm behind on a lot of other small projects, but yeah, those are my two big cosplay goals. And the one of the biggest shames is there's, for me, because I'm not competing in this event or whatever, there is no con crunch right now. You know, like there's no. I'm not going to say there's nothing to do, because I can do tutorials, I can do books, I can do events, we can do contests, we can support other artists around the world, which we are all doing. But I personally don't have as much of a reason to build a costume as I normally would. But anyway, to answer your question, those are my two current dream build. I'll probably do the Shadowlands Hunter first, because it's a lot more simple and a lot more achievable. But I will rock the shit out of that costume. I cannot wait to make that, and I think it's going to look great. That might be my post-COVID debut, wherever it ends up showing up. Yeah, but yeah, as we're kind of, it's been exactly 2 hours since we clapped our hands, so to speak. And something I'd love to share, and I've had the privilege of having a lot of meetings with Tiffany. She's been an invaluable resource for our committee, for this contest. I'm so happy you came on the show. But something that I don't think people will maybe, hopefully people understand this as much as I do, but Tiffany is so brilliant. And I'll speak directly to you. Like, you have so much focus, so much insight, your ability to remove your emotions in yourself and allow yourself to just express the truth for what it is to you, in order to be helpful and constructive, is so valuable to me, to this contest, to our committee, to your peers, to other artists. And I get to see it every week. I get to see it every day. I get to see it when you post, anything you post. Like, there's so much depth and thought and planning in every single thing that you do. And I admire you so much as not just an artist, but as a professional, as a pattern maker, as a businesswoman. And I am so privileged to have you on our judging panel and everything that we get to do moving forward. So that's my, over emotional. Oh, we never did talk about anyone's rampages or rants. Maybe that's best that we didn't, but that was my rant on how much I admire Tiffany Gordon.
I think that was an acceptable rant.
Rants,
Yeah.
grump.
Yeah, it wasn't a grumpy rant. It was just the truth. But
Well, let's make sure, Tiffany, for anybody in chat that's curious, can you go ahead and tell everybody what your social media, how best to kind of see what you're working on and where best to find what you're doing?
Tiffany Gordon cosplay, everything there.
There you guys go.
No, I've got my website, which is Tiffany Gordon Cosplay. It's got links to my fabric site, which is on Spoonflower, but easier to go through that. I've got my blueprint store there. I have my old prints store, because I don't release any new cosplay prints except for Patreon. Patreon's also Tiffany Gordon Cosplay. That one has all the behind the scenes of how I make my costumes. I have a secret private Patreon Instagram, so that way, like, I don't post any hashtags or anything. It's got my life stuff, and then I post, like, as I make my stuff through my stories, every single picture. And then tutorials, blah blah blah, things I don't know. Yeah. YouTube, Tiffany Gordon Cosplay. Twitter, Tiffany Cosplay. That one's the only one that's different because my name is too long. And then Facebook, also Tiffany Gordon Cosplay, and then a new TikTok, which is, I've actually really enjoyed TikTok. Everybody's been wanting me to go on there, and it's okay. Bye.
Bye, Floof.
She's probably getting hungry for dinner. But yeah, TikTok's been nice though, because it's like I'm making stuff specifically, or like videos specifically for that. And it's been kind of cool. It's not like a picture, they have to be a video. So it's a little different and more kind of silliness, being
Yeah.
myself, where Instagram, I feel like I'm more,
It's very tailored.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Instagram, there's like a wall. I'm a picture. We don't see past the picture kind
Right.
of thing, I guess. And I try, but I'm still just a picture. Where TikTok is now turned into, I don't give a fuck. Bloop. There's
Yeah.
something, and I can
Yeah.
be derp derp. Oh, and then I stream on Twitch. I stream Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Cosplay building streams and game streams.
Awesome.
All
Tiffany
VODs
is
go
the
to
kind of
YouTube.
person that
Thank you.
never stops working, which I think is one of the reasons that actually the three of us get along so well, is because
We don't know how to turn off.
Right. That's a polite way of saying that.
Our on-off switch doesn't work. You have to pull us out from the plug.
Right. Yeah. Mine is called extreme burnout, is what oh, guess what's finally here.
Oh no. I think we're gonna end it off with a Tuck custom grunting and absolute loving his cookies noises. Have you've heard him eat, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's like the cookie monster.
Yes, Tiffany has been in my house and she has heard me eat, I think. And it's funny because she eats like a Texas girl. Whataburger and, Wingstop, and, she's...
I've still not had Whataburger.
It's not good. It's not. I'm sorry, Tiffany. It's just...
Wait, I did? I guess I had it in Austin, so
Wait.
sorry, fighting words. I guess I didn't remember it.
Dr. Pepper
much.
person. Dr. Pepper.
All she drinks
I'm
is
cool with
Dr.
Dr.
Pepper,
Pepper.
which is a very
Yeah.
Texas thing, by the way.
Okay.
Dr. Pepper's not
In
a
fact,
Texas
when we
thing.
have our Monday
it's
morning
it's a
meetings-
good taste people thing.
When we have our Monday morning
How dare you.
meetings at 10 a.m. on Mondays, she's already like 2 Dr. Peppers deep.
I'm
Oh,
cutting
man.
back. I'm cutting back.
Hey, you know what? I can't drink soda anymore because of health issues, but like
Oh.
if you can still down the Dr. Pepper, then more power to you.
I try to only do one a day, but sometimes it
Oh
turns
my
into
gosh.
2 because I can't sleep. And so it's something to kind of keep me going in the morning. And I
Oh,
don't
fair
do
enough.
coffee at all.
Fair
So,
enough.
Yeah.
All right, let's hear it.
God, it smells so good.
Wait. Can I close us out and then you take a bite and it end on that?
We can do that.
Okay.
As you wish.
So
my
for those
lord.
of you that have been here for our interview podcast of Tiffany Gordon Cosplay, thank you so much. And with that being said, we'll see you next week. Chris, can you end it for us
I
with
can.
a
And
high
Tiffany,
note?
with this bite, thank you so much for being on the show. Do you want to say goodbye before I moan into my microphone?
thanks for watching. Follow the channel. Hope to see your cosplays for judging. Much love.
Ultimate Cosplay
you go.
Contest
All right.
2021.
There you
Bye.
go.
Lots of love, folks. Mm.
Yum, 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 yum.
And
It's
we're
so
done.
good. It's so good. Oops. All right, there we go.
Up.
And that's where we're gonna cut the YouTube video.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, it's so good though. Fucking hell.
I
Tiffany, that
need
was-
to
that was
I need to start
amazing.
baking.
E.
Sorry I opened us up with a deep start. I panicked and I was like, I forgot where I am. And I looked over and there was this giant bold question. I'm like, there's where I am.
Did Tiffany
just-
intimidate you? Is that what happened?
No, you know what it was is you guys have such a repertoire together and I've heard so much about it. I want to know a lot of the information that is missing. And so I was like super pumped to ask questions as well. And that was one that I think as well, because I do genuinely think that there's a lot of similarities with how you manage and handle things and how you work and a lot of considerations. And so when I meet people that I think respond a little bit, because I'm definitely scattered. I have ADHD. And so when I meet people that tend to, or like they say, like you're like, man, I'm like bouncing all over and doing stuff, right? I was like, maybe she has answers to my problems. That's typically
working more solves it.
I like how her
So-
phrase lit
right.
up when you said, I have ADHD. And she was just like,
Oh yeah,
oh, me. Yeah.
you understand.
She got so
You
happy when you
understand.
said that. Like,
I have ADHD and one eye. So it's not only that I
Oh.
forget things or I bounce around from project to project. I was explaining this to my mom actually. It was like, I'm the kind of person where before, like, one of the things my accident did for me is I used to be able to bounce from project to project and remember where I was.
Mm.
Now I just don't remember where I was. And it's like, oh crap. And so it takes some extra time to get restarted. But yeah.
I hate mid sentence and like you're talking and then just what? Like I don't remember what I was talking about, and everybody's just like this, and I'm
Right.
like, yeah, I don't remember. I don't know. There's some days like I'm pretty good at focusing at times when it comes to business things. Like I'm good if I'm gonna do it, it's right there, and I typically will like write down everything because the process of just writing it helps me. But
Oh,
there are
nice.
some days where I'm just like
So
it's
like
a
that would have
non-focused day and
that
I can't do anything.
yeah, that's like that would have that's actually like the perfect answer to my question earlier.
Mm.
I didn't mean for it to seem like any deep, dark, super question. It was like, how do you manage the craziness in your brain that I experience if it's there?
You were
Yeah.
just
know?
going to ask it because
like-
you wanted answers right away.
That's
Yeah.
it. It was. I was pumped.
But no, I wasn't being critical. Usually we just, this is the first podcast that we've started with, you know,
Oh yeah.
right off the
Yeah.
bat, heavy hitting questions.
Well, our discussion with Dave was also a little bit different.
It
if
was.
you remember. So I don't know. It wasn't bad. It was fun. I've also like I'm digesting a lot of information.
Tiffany's a really bad influence on me, by the way.
Oh yeah.
And I came to realize this
I give
during...
him more work to do.
Right.
Actually, can I go use the restroom?
You may.
Yeah.
Have time? Okay.
Have fun.
Gotta go.
Oku's doing something important right now.
Oh.
But no, you're a bad influence on me because I'm constantly being told by my family, friends, and loved ones that I need to take a break or I'm going to burn myself out in a very negative way, which happens very often. And when I talk to you, I realize how much you're doing, and I feel like I should be doing more because that's what Tiffany's doing. Not that I have to be you or be like you or whatever, but you're this example of like almost a runaway train type of thing where you're always active. You always have inertia. You always have momentum, which is such an admirable trait. And the fact is, life is hard. Life is fucking hard for people. Every person, every day, you know, there is resistance, there is pressure. And for some strange reason, which I have yet to figure out about you, you keep moving forward. And
I have a schedule. I have set deadlines that I put on myself and I keep to them. Schedules really help too for me.
Yeah.
I know you're awful with your schedule, especially your sleep schedule.
my thing is just, as long as I'm awake, I'm working. Whether my sleep schedule is intact or not has nothing to do with it. But if I wake up at 3 in the morning, that's it. I work.
Yeah.
If I stay up until 7 in the morning, I'm working. That's it. Unless you're, yeah.
Like for me, schedule wise, it's more of like, I know I like for streaming, I know I'm streaming from 1 to 4. During this time, I have to get this done. And I know how, like, I have a pretty good sense of how long things take me. Sometimes I'm really off on that. Like, it doesn't happen too often, but my last stream, like, I thought something was going to take an hour and it took 4 hours and I'm still working on it back there. But yeah, I typically will do that. And then I kind of just stick to that. And like, if something's kind of taking longer, I'll change it to make it so like I don't do shortcuts, but I like change kind of like the designs. I don't know if this words make sense. But
Yeah, I'm with you. But no, you're an intimidating personality, and it's funny that we kind of touched on the fact that you haven't had maybe as vast of a social, you know, web as maybe some other people, but I personally want, and you know, obviously all of this is up to you, but like I feel like the world needs more of you, more people like you, more of your inspiration, more of your like there are people watching this that may or may not have ever heard of you, but the truth is, you're very unique, and I hope and wish that people get to find out about you or meet you or be inspired by you, because you, Hoku, I can't hear you, by the way.
I know that's because I was whispering. I don't want to interrupt.
Okay. But yeah, like part of you being on our committee and some of our future goals, like I want to shatter your ability to hide from the public is what I'm trying to say. I want to take that away from you so that you're constantly just shoved into a spotlight at all times.
Then anxiety would kick in, and I'm just gonna be in a corner.
I'm being pseudo serious, but no, truthfully,
yeah.
like at your comfort level, I would like to facilitate helping you get out there a little bit more, especially as it relates to you being successful, you know, and independent and all of those things. And maybe people realize that you make all of your own shit without having to do research or something like that, you know?
I'm not going to add any other pressure other than the fact I just want to be closer friends because you're cool.
Yep.
Just
I
saying.
said you could always join our meetings.
I told
but,
Hoku that.
You know.
Yeah.
And he said yes. He said, as long as I'm awake, I'll be there.
As long as I'm interested, as long as I'm awake,
as
which isn't a problem. I wake up at 6:30. Wait, what?
I thought you were going to say, as long as I'm interested.
Oh, no. Sorry.
That's
very,
what you started
very
saying.
interested. No, very, very interested. No, I'm typically awake at 6:30. And so for me, it's more of lately health has been an issue, and so my health is it's in a much better place than it was.
Yep.
And I was able to get the vaccine, so that's cool. Long Beach out here in California is doing such a tremendous job where they're like, anybody over the age of, I think it was 16, and if you've got a disability which is pertaining towards, you know, issues with COVID. I've got really badly damaged sinus passages, or nasal passages, so for me it's a concern over that, and I've already had it once, so you know it can be much worse with the variants. So I qualified and I got it, and yeah, so it kicked my butt though. Holy moly!
Yeah.
So I was so excited that I'm good enough to be on here. So that's yeah. I don't know.
Good.
Hey, you're always good enough to be. This is your show, so and your
well,
channel.
I mean,
I know what you mean.
Yeah, yeah. Like, well, no. Sammy said I was acting crazy. I was like,
crazy.
I was super loopy. Yeah, no, like crazier than normal. I was like super loopy after the vaccine. So, but totally worth it because then I'm safe and can actually travel at one point and visit and help spread the word and help people. And man, like the thought of when you get the vaccine, Chris, that you and I can safely hang out and make videos and talk to people and do things and accomplish things. And when Tiffany Gordon gets I'm going to call you Tiffany Gordon as long as I look at your logo.
Okay.
Say the full name. Say the full brand.
Tiffany Gordon
Cosplay.
TiffanyGordonCosplay.com over here, and I are going to hang out. Yeah.
Is that like buy my books that, you know,
right.
On and on and on.
Yep.
But yeah, so it's like the knowledge that we have the potential to be able to like resume hanging out and doing stuff in person. It's pretty cool. I'm definitely pumped, even if you live in the middle of nowhere. For what it's worth, I
get a lot of rivers here.
Well, so check it out. The thought of living in a rural area, to me, I can fart and my next door neighbor will smell it, even if all the windows are closed. That's how tight boxed in we are here.
Yep.
And it's pretty suffocating. You know, I don't want to complain too much because I'm very lucky to live where I do. But man, oh man, it's definitely like just and I think I'm ready for fresh air.
Yeah,
that's really what it is.
I can only handle.
I think that's the same.
I think I stayed out in Long Beach for like 3.5 weeks, and it was rough. After a while, I was like, I want to get the fuck away from all these people and buildings, and it was weird.
Yeah.
But no, the next time that you come to visit here, you know, I would love it if Tiffany came up and the three of us did a shoot together, or just hung out, or we had.
Well, Sammy will be there too, plus several.
Well, there you go.
Sushi.
Oh yeah, we can have. We did a couple of sushi nights here, didn't we, Tiffany?
Crazy California rolls.
Yeah, we had.
Oh my gosh!
We
you know what?
Sushi and Assassin's
You
Creed
got
nights.
Tiff's treats. I'm gonna get crazy California rolls for dinner. Sam, you want sushi for dinner?
Fuck you guys! I hate you.
She said, "F yay." Several.
yay.
I make my own
come to Daddy.
sushi.
Really?
So.
Oh,
I don't.
I'm gonna play a little Valheim tonight. That's my plan. Tiffany, what are you gonna do?
I'm sewing.
Okay.
Yes.
See, that's
Oh yes.
it's
Hello,
Saturday
my
night,
little pooper butt.
and Tiffany's gonna go right back to work. Technically, this podcast was
I'm a week behind because of having snow for a week, no power, working by candlelight, and then I was sick for half a week because of a migraine, and I'm still like behind on that for my deadline.
Hi.
So yeah.
well. Get caught up. Do something nice for yourself this weekend. Thank you so much for being on our show. I like how Severo has taken Chad's.
He's all that matters.
If only I had Fluff here, we could have like the critters.
I'd have to get my turtles out of the tank, and then they drip all over
You
me.
don't need, you bring the fluff to the show, dude.
Oh.
You don't need to bring a fluffy
That's true.
pant.
I'm
you are one.
I'm furrier than both of your pets combined, probably. It's all up. Whatever. Anyway, but no, this was a lot of fun. Tiffany, thank you so much. This will be up on YouTube whenever the hell I feel like doing it. Hoku and my brother, the other co-founders of Ultimate Cosplay, are forcing me to stop working so hard.
Yep.
And to start delegating more tasks. So I'm going to try to take it easy a little bit. But everyone watching this, thank you so much for everything. You guys are making this whole thing real for all of us. I'm gonna get ready to wrap it up. Hoku, do you want to raid someone, or are we just gonna shut it down?
Heck yeah, I want to raid somebody. Who's streaming?
I don't know.
Hey, group chat. If you guys have any suggestions for people to host, we will host them or raid them or do both. And it needs to be in the next 2 minutes.
I'm pulling up my followers list right now.
See.
And we did get a raid from Silent World. Oh, Stella's streaming. That would be funny. Because she was on our podcast a few weeks ago.
Actually, I have a friend that is doing a charity birthday party stream. Erica Ishii. Do we have any people from the community on? Otherwise, I'm gonna say her because I adore them.
This is your channel. You do what you do.
All right, I'm gonna host Erica Ishii, guys.
Okay, sounds good. All right.
Bye-bye.
Lots of love, folks. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful weekend. Mwah.
And we are loading up. And I will click the button in approximately 5, 4, 2, 1. I skipped a number.